Hello, I'm Jonathan Dunsky, author of the Adam Lapid Mysteries. On this channel, I often talk about crime fiction that I read and enjoyed, and today I'd like to tell you about Miami Blues by Charles Willeford. Miami Blues was published in 1984, and it is book one of the Hoke Moseley series, Hoke Moseley being a police sergeant in Miami. Miami Blues is told from the viewpoint of two characters. There's Hoke Moseley himself, and there's Freddie Franger, also known as Junior Franger, who has just been released from prison in California, and he arrives in Miami, and in his pocket are a batch of stolen credit cards and stolen money that he got from robbing people soon after he was released from prison. And when Junior's in the airport, he is accosted by a Hare Krishna who begs him for money, and Junior Franger is a psychopath who has a tendency to erupt in sudden violence at the slightest provocation. And he is annoyed by this Hare Krishna, so he grabs his finger and sort of twists it backward and breaks it quite viciously, and then he just walks off and leaving the screaming Hare Krishna behind. And he continues into Miami itself. Junior checks into a hotel, and he asks for a call girl from one of the employees at the hotel, and the call girl that arrives is called Susan Wagner, who's this slightly dim-witted, very innocent, despite her profession, young woman who, as it turns out, just happens to be the sister of the Hare Krishna that accosted Junior at the airport. And in fact, she and her brother are living together, trying to make a life for themselves in Miami after having sort of broken off their relationship with their father, who lives in another part of Florida. As it turns out, the Hare Krishna, Susan Wagner's brother, dies from the shock of having his finger so brutally broken. So this becomes a homicide, and Hoke Moseley is put on the case. As one of the first things that he does is he goes and informs Susan of the fact that her brother has been killed. By this time, Susan and Junior have become a sort of weird couple. So Junior actually accompanies her when when Hoke Moseley informs her of her brother's demise. And so Hoke and Junior meet face to face, and Hoke immediately recognizes that Junior is an ex-con, and he senses that there is something very strange about his presence. Hoke Moseley is an interesting character because he's not a typical fictional detective. For one thing, he's far from handsome. He is in his 40s, balding, overweight, and with a mouth full of false teeth. In addition to that, he is always strapped for cash. In fact, he is so in such dire financial straits that he actually lives in a sort of flea bag residential hotel, and he serves as a security officer for that hotel in order just to get a crummy room for free. And he is also a guy that you can't really admire, at least at first glance, because we're told that the reason why he's strapped for cash is because he signed a very detrimental divorce agreement, and he has to send his former wife a great deal of alimony, and their two daughters live with her, and he basically has no contact with them and has had no contact with them for years. And he doesn't seem to regret that at all, which, I mean, is not the sort of thing that you, let's say, naturally admire about a guy. So Hoke is not physically impressive. He's not a sharpshooter or anything like that. He's just a good detective who just likes to do his job. And he begins working the case, and and Junior, on his part, is aggravated by that, and the two will clash during the book. So the book is not just is told from the viewpoint of these two characters. Junior is basically sure of the fact that he will one day return to jail, and so he's all about doing whatever he wants right now, getting money, committing crimes. He doesn't give almost any thought to the long term. And Hoke is a guy whose life is a complete mess. He's trying to form some sort of regular life for himself and to continue working his cases, in particular the case of the dead Hare Krishna, which of course involves Junior. I read just recently all 4 of the Hoke Moseley novels, and I enjoyed them all. I'll probably do a video about the other novels, or a few videos about the other novels in the future. But I will say that it's very rare for me to read 4 novels of the same series, one after the other. Even if I like a series, I usually will only read 1 or 2 books and then set it aside for a time, read something else, and then return to it. So I think it says something that I just read all 4 books straight away, one after the other, because I enjoyed them that much. So I'll talk again about Miami Blue. The book is very short, about 5.5 hours in audio. I listened to all 4 books in audio, and they were beautifully narrated. And there's something special about these books. First of all, the character of Hoke Moseley, the way he operates and thinks, the sort of very dry black humor that surrounds his work and his colleagues on the police department. Nothing is sort of sacred, at least from the way that Charles Willeford tells the story. Nothing is sacred about police work. It's sort of grimy and cheap in a way. And by cheap, I mean that they make do with very little in terms of a salary, in terms of the resources. Everything seems kind of gray and low end. And there's always a sense of impending violence in the book, but when it comes as a surprise, even though it seems to contradict. And there's something about the way that violence is portrayed in the book. It always comes unexpectedly, in a sudden flash. It sort of slaps you in the face, even as it happens to this or that character, and it's all very surprising and brutal and unexpected and thrilling. So I think that if you're a fan of crime fiction, you definitely should give the Hoke Moseley series a read, because I think you'll enjoy it. I think it's something quite special, and Miami Blues is where you should start. So you can find a link in the description below to where you can find a copy of Miami Blues. Thank you for watching the video. Let me know in the comments if you've ever read any of Charles Willeford's books, and I'll see you in the next video.